Before we begin, let's look at our data. In the script section on line 4, you'll see ticker symbols. There's an array of ticker symbols that represent our favorite tech companies. Now let's write our first expression. To do this, we'll start with filter. So our first parameter is going to be array. Press into and write the word filter. Now for this example, notice that as you pressed enter, DataWeave Playground pre-populated the syntax, the following syntax. We have some parentheses, item, and index. This is the beginning of the Lambda expression, second argument that we're going to pass in. Lambda expressions are anonymous functions. So we'll start by just deleting the auto-populated section. Now I'm going to press enter because I want you to see everything pretty much spaced out. And we'll go value. Value, this is going to be the name of the parameter of the Lambda expression. We'll do an arrow, and then now we want to do something with the value. How about we filter out everything that's not Google? So to do that, let's go with this expression. Value contains, and then we'll give it a string. Well, out of all the tickers, GO will return only the Google tickers. Now, we want to write clean DataWeave code. So how about we refactor our ticker array? And let's put a variable in the DataWeave script header. So to do that, we'll type var in lowercase, ticker symbols, I'll call it, and I'll put an equal. Let's move line 5 to line 3. All right, so once we've done that, we're going to call our ticker symbol. We're going to pass that in. Remember, filter is a function. This is a function call. I'm passing an array of ticker symbols and a Lambda expression so that the filter function can do something with those ticker symbols. So this is the filter condition. The Lambda expression is your criteria, also known as your condition. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's look at index. So what happens if we add to our arguments index? Okay, so now nothing has changed. We've added another argument for index. Now, we're going to remove everything on the right side. So let's write our condition now. Now we have value and we have index. Let's put our parentheses back. Okay. And we can, if we put value here, we have nothing, but we want to work with index. So index, but what do we want to do with the index? We actually want to take the mod of the index. So let's go. We're going to do mod 2 and we'll take if it's 0. Now notice DataWeave Playground is throwing some errors around. We're going to add some parentheses around the index mod 2 to force DataWeave to evaluate that expression. And then once you evaluate the index mod 2, then you're going to compare it with 0. So now we have returned a filtered array, which is a brand new array with only even indexes from the unfiltered array. Now let's talk about the $ syntax. You can use this syntax in your Lambda expressions. These symbols replace you needing to define Lambda expression arguments. So for this, we're going to use a different use case. This time we want to return all of the tickers that end with an A. Okay, so let's go ahead and erase both sides of our Lambda expression. And we'll put parentheses back here. and let's do $sign. So $sign is going to be the current value. It could also be looked at as the current element of an array, or if you like to use the word item, it is the current item in the array. So you can see DataWeave Playground is already telling us some values of $sign. So now I'm going to use a function in DataWeave because we're not going to rewrite functions. We're going to use functions in DataWeave. And we're going to use ends with, which is already in the DataWeave core library. So we do not have to import that module. And I'm going to put another parentheses here, and we're going to say ends with A. So now we've returned all of the tickers that end with A. Now, do we need parentheses? I don't think so, but sometimes you just create parentheses for you to make things neater. So there, we were able to get the current values or current elements that have ticker symbols that end with A. Now, what about working with objects? Can we use filter to work with objects? Well, if it's an array of objects, we can. To do this, we're going to go to our Input Explorer, and here you'll see payload. Now, I was able to borrow this payload from the SEC. I will put a link to this payload down in the description, but it's basically an array of objects about tickers. And so you can see each object has an SIK_STR value and a ticker and a title. Okay, so if you didn't realize it, we're dealing with stocks today. All right, so now this time our first value or our first argument is going to be payload, right? Because now we're pulling payload, and we're going to want to do something. We want to filter our payload. But what do we want to do? So this time we actually want to combine some things that we just learned, and we're going to return a filtered array of objects where the CIK_STR is odd, the index is greater than 5, and the ticker starts with T. So each object, so we're going to have an array of objects, and each object has to have that criteria. So we have our payload, we have our filter, and now we need to write our condition. For now, again, I'm not going to use the autocomplete, but you could use the autocomplete. That might be even more helpful. So we have value, and we need index. Okay, we're dealing with arrays, right? And we're going to need our right arrow for our lambda expression. Okay, and now we write our criteria or our condition. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get all of the CIK_strings, or 6 strings, I'm going to say, that are odd. So how do we do that? Well, we're dealing with an object. We're dealing with an array. So each element or index or value of the array we need to access. So I'm going to put some parentheses here because our condition is going to get really big, and we're going to kind of string a bunch of conditions along. So, okay, so we have value, and then we want to do something with our value, right? We have to have our filter condition. Well, to access this string here, we will need to use the dot notation, and then we can take that. And then now we want to get only the odd, so we remember mod 2 will allow us to choose between evens and odds. And if we want to get odd, anything that doesn't divide evenly and leaves some kind of remainder is odd. Okay, so that's the first one. So again, I'm going to just kind of put parentheses around our condition, our finished condition, right? So we're now everything has the string that is odd. Okay, and here in line 12 on our input, we did have an even string. I was starting to get scared. Was everything odd? Okay, yeah, we have a few we started with a few even strings, and now we have all odd 6 strings. Okay, now we're going to add another condition. So the next condition is we want our filtered array to return only those objects that are based on odd indexes or based on indexes that are greater than 5. We want our new filtered array to only return an array of objects that have the 6 string that have odd 6 strings and are greater and have indexes that are greater than 5. So how do we do that? Well, we have the index argument that we can use. Okay, so this time we're going to go greater than 5. So now you can see here that anything that was on the index that was not greater than 5 has been filtered out. And our final thing is we want to get tickers that start with T. So not only should our array of objects have values whose 6 string is odd and whose indexes are from the original array are greater than 5, and now the ticker has to start with T. So I'm going to do value, and again I'm going to encase it with parentheses. All right, so now we want to access the values from ticker, right? So we're able to go into drill into our object, and in our object now we want the ticker value. So we'll use the dot notation and we'll take that ticker and we'll do starts with, and this time we'll do a T. All right, so there you go. So we were able to return Tesla Incorporated and Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. Limited, Ltd. Okay, is there something that we can use that's not the filter function? Maybe we can use a selector. All right, to do this, we're going to go to our original example. If you can remember that, our original example looked something like this. Now, can we rewrite this? Can we use another filter? Yeah, we can use the filter selector. So let me show you how that's done. Okay, so we're going to remove our everything. We're going to remove our lambda expression, our filter function, and you should have something like this. Okay. Next, we're going to put brackets around, square brackets. Okay. Okay, you have the square brackets. And then we're going to put a question mark followed by a $sign. And there you go. Now, what are some pros? What are some cons? I don't know personally how it works performance-wise, but what I can tell you is, as a developer, if I saw the syntax, I wouldn't know what's going on, what's happening. So you may want to put some comments in your code, or you may just want to use the filter function. But my job is to show you how to filter. So, well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and be sure to watch another video.